I guess this is video 2, apologies for that. I dropped my phone out of my robot arm. How very good. AI is not taking over the world. So, as I was saying, I wanted this apprentice, but I only have one worker on here. What you do is you take the money from your supply, from your area, and say I wanted this one. You would place one coin on each of the cards, apprentices, before the one that you're after. If you have, say, two workers there, and I really wanted that one, what you do is you can miss out an apprentice per one you have. So in this case, because I want a card that's supposed to be 3 workers, and there's 2 there already. The difference is 1. I wouldn't have to put. No, I was right. You wouldn't have to put the first one on. So that one would have been fine. That one itself would have been fine. That one I can't take, so I just need to put in 1 coin on the previous card in this case. If it was this card, the coin would go at the top there. So, now, these apprentice cards have a lot of information on. These are so varied along the bottom here in the brown bars. I'm not going to go over all of them now. They are all outlined within the rulebook. I will do a couple and talk about some of the major information that's on them. And to do that, I'm going to go over to the ones that I took out during setup. So the green player has the conspirator, and the orange player has the acolyte. So, what does all this mean? The first thing to denote is at the top left, I'll bring that closer, you'll see an icon. This is what type of apprentice they are and what they can provide for you. Really, just look at the colours. That's a yellow square. There is a brown circle. And there is a silver hex. They're the 3 different types, and they are used for buildings, which is something I haven't talked to you about yet. But just note that they are there, and they are required. Those symbols are required for certain buildings. The other parts to it are the brown bar along the bottom, and some of them, you'll notice this one doesn't, will have a purple instant action. Anytime you see the lightning bolt, that means it is an instant action. In this case, as during setup, the instant actioners would gain 1 virtue, which, as we saw, I'd already done. The other aspect is the brown bar along the bottom. There are 2 different things that you'll be looking at. Either image, arrow, images, or icons, arrow, icons, or the name of a space on the board with an action. What these do, so with the arrow cards, this is kind of saying when you do this action, this happens. So for an example, this one is when I build a level on the cathedral, once again, something that we'll go over in a bit, but that is this over here. There's the cathedral symbol. When I build a level on the cathedral, I will gain 2 clay. A little bit of a bonus. This one, if you see something where it has a name on it, what that is saying is when you take that action, so if the green player were to take the town centre action, town centre, it will be 1 coin cheaper. So it's just an ongoing passive. They are essentially everything that's on here. So to grab a couple from the board. So the woodcutter, when you visit the forest, you'll gain 1 additional wood. The deck collector. Every time that you would flip a deck card, you gain 2 clay. This one, I'm glad this one's on the board. This one's a little different because this is kind of both. It's got both a name and a thing. So when you go to the King's Storehouse, which is where you exchange resources for something, as well as taking those actions, you are allowed, optionally, to pay in 2 clay to take 1 stone and 1 wood. And I believe, yeah, that is it. Oh, the other one is this one. This has a little bin bag with a recycle symbol on. That is called the Black Market Reset. This is something that happens just during the Black Market Reset. That is another aspect we have yet to go over. But those are the apprentices. Whenever you take one from the board, so say I take this one, shift the rest to the left, reveal the next one from the board. If you take, if card's there, you take that one, you also gain the coin, any coins that were on it. And they can have multiple coins if it keeps getting passed. Just means that you're going to get a lot of coins for doing so. So that's the top half of the workshop with the apprentices. The second half of the workshop, which is an ore, so is taking one of these green building cards. Now might be a good time to talk about what buildings are. But you take a building card from the top, or, so it's 1 card, and a little bit like some of the previous spaces, per 2 workers you have here, so in this case I do have 2, I can take an additional card. So with 2 workers, I'll be able to take the one for the first bit, and then an additional one for the other, and I will take those 2, and I will put them with the rest. This is not how they would be set up. Normally you would keep them hidden in your hand, these building cards. It's just for the sake of this video, I've put them upright so we can see what's going on. So, buildings cards. At the start of the game, during setup, you will be drafting in order to end up with 3 cards in your hand. Building cards have a lot to do with them, similar to the apprentice. They will have bits at the top, they have victory points, they have instant actions. What they have that's slightly different, so this, say for example, I were to build the Gambler's Den, it does have an instant of 2 minus virtue there, as you can see by the slash. They have a flag symbol here, meaning that that is something that happens during end game scoring. Okay, so some of them have that, whereas some of them may have an instant action of getting a virtue and an instant action of gaining an influence. Yes, that's expansion. That's this bar here. Ignore it. That was just for an example explaining what's going on. So, buildings. What is going on with the building? So I've just described this bit. You've got your points at the top. This little symbol just means it's from an expansion. Ignore that. It doesn't actually do anything. It's just telling you what set it's from. Up the top here, so for example, you see in these 2, you've got those apprentice symbols I was talking about earlier that are at the top left. In order to build the, say this building, I would need to have 1 of each of the 3 different types of apprentice. You never ever ever need more than 1. If it's on here, it won't ever say like 2 of the circles and 3 of the squares. Once you've got 1, that's it. You've got it for every requirement. Sometimes it'll just say a combination of them. So in this case, a circle and a square. This one literally doesn't need any. You can build this straight from the off without any apprentices whatsoever. So that's the requirements there. Down the side, you will see resources. This is what you need to pay back to the supply in order to build them. So in the Gambler's Den case, I would need to have, firstly, those 2 apprentices, and then I would need to pay in 1 stone, 1 gold, and 3 marble. So quite a hard one to do, potentially. And then I could have this card in front of me in my play area, and that's it. I'd lose the virtue, and then have this end of game thing going on. Now, there is a way that you are to build the buildings. That is a spot that's also on the board. I haven't broached that yet, but you don't just, if you have this, you don't just put it down, you have to actually build it. That is what I will go through next. But yeah, so points, requirements, resource cost, action. And that's where your buildings go. So that is the workshop. Next, as promised, building. That is this space up here. It's called the Guild Hall. If you're playing just the base game, you literally won't have this line. It'll just show this bit here. So what you are doing is you're taking one of your workers and placing it flat on one of the spaces on here. You have permanently lost that worker. So be careful. You don't want to use too many workers up too early in the game and then have fewer for any sort of reset. But what you're doing is you place your worker on there, pay the resources, building goes down, boom, that's you done. Over the course of the game, that is what people will be doing. Say green player done this, I don't know what. Do you know what? This is a two-player game because there's only orange and green. You'd be putting there, and then you'd start onto this column, and then once you've gone. So let's say in this two-player game, we're only looking at here. Once the last one had been placed on there, and all of these 12 slots had been filled up, that would trigger the end of the game. That's how the end of the game happens. Obviously, in a 3, 4, 5 player, you'd need to fill in more. But yeah. That's what you do. I don't think the base game has this, but I will just explain just in case it does. With these ones with the 2 blue X's in, what that's saying is every time you see blue and X in those 2 lines, you are taking the leftmost apprentices, whether they got coins on or not, and you are discarding, moving the rest down, revealing another 2 from the deck. And that it just helps with cycling through the apprentice cards. So that's what that means. You've also got these 2 symbols here, which, as I mentioned earlier, are the black market resets. When you place on the black market reset, you will do all the actions to do with the black market reset. I will deal with that once we've talked over all of the spaces. And that's it for building your buildings. So that's the building there. You do also have this option of buildings. So that is the cathedral. That's this bit here. When you place a worker in the guild hall, what you do is you will see on the side here, you've got your requirements. So for a level, you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 levels of the cathedral to build. And obviously the higher up you go, the more points you get. On the left here is the requirement. So for level 1, you need to pay 1 gold and discard 1 building card from your hand. So literally, take 1 and it's gone. Goes to bottom of deck. And then once you've paid it, you push. It's really hard to, yeah, you can see it. So there are some spaces on here. You push your marker up by 1, which means at the end of the game you're going to get that many points. You also get to take one of these cards. During setup, these would be shuffled, and it will be 2 cards per player plus 1. So in this 2-player game, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 cards. So you take one, reveal it, get whatever it says on here. So in this card's case, that would be 1 virtue and 2 wood. So to push it up further, in future buildings, it would be, that does say 4. So that's any combination of stone and wood, 4 of. Discard a card, get to push it into there. 1 marble and a discard. 8 combination of stone and wood and discarding a card. And then 2 gold, 2 marble, discard a card. What you can see on here, as you might notice, is that there are these slots on here. These literally limit players' ability to build. I guess you could call it a little bit of area control on there. So in a 2-player game, this bit wouldn't really make much of an issue. In 5-player game, it very much would be. But if we were both to have built all the way up to there, only one player would be able to take that final plunge and put it in there. And then that would OCD happen there. Yeah, and that would then stop the green player from being able to build the last part of the cathedral. And that is the 2 different types of building that you can do in the base game. 2 more major areas to look at now. The first one, there's a lot going on here. This is the prison. Or the guardhouse, I should say. You can take 1 action per worker that we put on here. Boom. There we go. So I've put 1 person on there, and I'll go through each of the lists. So, in fact, let me just prepare this with a few workers. Lovely. And let's take one of these. Okay, so the first action, it is saying, this is all to do with the captured workers that we took earlier. So you would drop them off within the guardhouse. There you go. I've put them in prison, all 6 from the green player. And that is saying I would gain 1 coin per person I've dropped off. You know what? You know what 6 is, 6 coins is. So you take 6 coins from the supply and you take them there. So they are now in prison, and that is a good way of getting some silver. So that's 1 action. Or you can simply freeze some people. So in a previous turn, the green player had dropped off 3 of my orange workers. You simply take them back, put them in your area, and they are ready to use again. This is the main way of getting your workers back. Aside from taking the town centre action yourself and getting your own workers. But that's that action. This action has a slash, so 2 options for you within this action itself. You can either pay 2 money to the tax stand, or 3 money to the supply, so 5 money altogether, or you can take a debt card and lose a virtue to free your people from a holding area. So say green had done a town centre action and taken 3 of my workers earlier. If I didn't want to wait for him to drop them off there and get the money for arresting my people, I would simply pay that money, take the workers, put them straight into my supply. So that's that action. 2 ways of dealing with that. The last thing you can do in the guardhouse is pay 3 money to the tax stand, 3 money to the supply, and you can flip. That symbol is flip one of your debt cards over. Bing. And as soon as you flip a debt card over, there's that instant action symbol again. You get 1 virtue. And that is the guardhouse. Just going to put a couple more on here for something else. And like I say, if you did have, say, put a second person on there, you'd be able to do any of them, two of them of. Then you've got, say hi to Malik. Then you've got the black market down here. Now, you heard about me mentioning the black market reset. We will be going over that, but first let's talk about the black market in itself. As you can see, these areas to place workers are smaller than these. That is because these big ones, you can put as many workers on as you like of many other people's workers, players. These black market areas, each of these 3 can only hold a single worker. When you place a worker, you pay however much is on here. So 1, 2, 3 coins, lose a virtue. Oh dear, down I go again. And depending on which space you are on, you get to do what is underneath. In the basic game, this looks slightly different to my map because there's expansion stuff on there. If you went here with the 1 coin cost and 1 virtue, you simply take the two resources on there, 1 marble, 1 wood in this case. I'm going to jump across over to this one. In the 3 coin one, you take whatever resources are here. In this area, there's always more than this area. So 2 marble, 1 stone, 1 wood. In the middle section, ignore that. That bit's the only bit that's not there in the base game. So you get to take any apprentice. I don't really know what you're doing to get these apprentices. I don't know if you're kidnapping them or what. That's why they're in the black market. But essentially, anywhere over here, it doesn't matter which one you want, you take an apprentice and then refill from the deck. So that's that. Or you are allowed to take the top 5 building cards, choose one, keep it, and then discard the other 4 to the bottom of the deck. That is what that is all about. So that is the black market. Now, the reason why that's all the spaces in the game. That's everything that you can do spatial wise. So all that's left to talk about is what is a black market reset. So there will be a couple of ways that the black market gets reset in the base game. If you are choosing to use expansions, there are other ways to do it that way. But it is in the base game, either when you cover up the space on there with a worker to make a building, or when all 3 of the black market spaces are filled. Can happen then as well. If either way that it's done, there is a series of things that will happen. Firstly, the first thing that happens is all units that are all workers that are in the black market, they've been arrested. So you take them and they go straight over to the guardhouse. So that's the first thing that happens. Then, if you have any bonuses, I can't remember. I think I might have discarded him now. But any bonuses. Oh well, I mean, got this one here, haven't you? So you can activate that now. This is the expansion one. Doesn't matter. For example, for explaining, I would now get the 2 influence on this track because it is now the black market phase. And then we go through the nasty stuff. So the first thing that happens is this card, because this is a small deck of cards here. This card, top card, gets flipped over and becomes the next top one. Becomes the next big space for the 3. So that's how this changes what resources you can get through that. Then you go straight over to the guardhouse, where you can see this symbol here to explain that this happens during the black market reset. So as you can see, there's 3 workers on here, so that is denoting anyone that has 3 or more workers will lose 1 virtue. Oh no, the green player has got 6 over here, so that's 1 down. Orange only has 2. Yes, do not need to lose any virtue. And whoever has the most workers in the guardhouse, very much green, will take a deck card to have to deal with. So that is -2 points at the end of the game, unless they can deal with it. You never know, maybe they have something that makes it easier to discard / flip, and they're more than happy with taking one of those deck cards. That is that is how Black Market reset. Once that happens, you just carry on with the next player around the board, carrying on until all of these are filled. As I say, we're going to pretend a 2-player, and we're also going to pretend that I've got these all filled. Last player places that on there. Everyone, including the person who placed this, will get one more turn. After that's been done, it's final scoring. And during final scoring, as I mentioned, I'll do it one more time. It might make a bit more sense to you now. All the buildings that you've built, points at the top there. The cathedral, how far you're up on the cathedral. So in that orange case, that would be 20 points. Where you are on the virtue track, if anything. So let's pretend that's up there. That's down there. Oh no, green player's going to lose 5 points, but orange is going to gain 2 points. Deck cards. Oh, orange cleared theirs. Brilliant. Green didn't, so green will lose 2 points. Spare marble or gold. I mean, I haven't been collecting any, but oh no, no points from that. For every 10, you'd get 1 point. Yep, nothing there. And then for every 2 workers in the guardhouse, you will lose a point. So orange is going to lose 1, green is going to lose 3 points. Add everything up. At the end of the game, whoever has the most points is the winner. The only thing left to mention on the virtue track, I probably should have gone over that when I was doing up and down on the virtue, but I'm going to bring it up now. As well as points, there are other icons on here which may affect you. So when you are very virtuous and you have hit this is not a black market reset symbol. You don't do that. That is telling you that you are too virtuous to visit the black market. So once you've hit there, you are now no longer able to go to any of these 3 spots. If you ever happen to get to the top of the virtue track and you would gain more, instead you don't flip. You are able to discard one of your. So you simply take it, put it back on the pile. I know that was green, but whatever. You discard a debt card. Your debts are forgiven because you're so virtuous. On the flip side, down here, as well as losing points for being very unvirtuous, once you've hit this marker, this is telling you you are so hated that it would be a crime to allow you to work on the cathedral. So you are now no longer able to do the cathedral building action. Here is, when you get to these ones, this is actually good, potentially. This is telling you whenever you would have to pay money to the tax stand, so town centre, or the workshop, or anything else, maybe expansion or whatever, whenever you have to pay money to the tax stand, for these 2 spots, you pay 1 less money to the tax stand. These 2 spots, you pay 2 less money to the tax stand. If ever you get to 0 virtue, and you need to lose more virtue, you take a debt card. I don't even know the theme on this one. People just hate you so much they want you to owe them money. I don't know. But that is what happens there. And that is Architects of the West Kingdom, the base game. And I'm going to do a separate video outlining what the expansions do in case you are doing that. What I will talk about now, because everyone is doing this one, is the Tome Saga. So I've only just read the rules for this one, so hopefully this will make sense. This is the Tome Saga board set up with Architects of the West Kingdom aspects added onto it. At the start of the game, to set this up, you will be placing this board out, be putting these tokens on here, these cards on here underneath the right place. There are 6 cards for each Architects, Paladins and Viscounts. You will take 3, shuffle, take 3, put them on these spots, put the other 3 here in the face down pile. Yeah, that's the setup. Throughout the game, people will be working towards these objectives. The first person to achieve one of these objectives will get to take the card and put it by their pile. This is a tome. At the end of the 3 games, for how many of these tomes, these cards that you have. Whoever has the most is the winner of the overall campaign. Underneath the objective, in Architects and Paladins, there is a bonus that you will get for the next game. So this is an objective for Architects, this is a bonus for Paladins. You also have these symbols down here, and these are crests. These are the same symbols as you can see up here. In a 3+ game, that side, or a 2-player game on that side, when you have 3 of these symbols, so on here, let's say I achieved that objective and that objective, and then at the end of the game, I'll talk about what a minor victory means in a second, but I had a minor victory and it allowed me to take one of these crests. I took this one. I would then have 1, 2, 3 of that type of crest. Therefore, I can take one of these tomes for free, put it beside there, and that's an additional tome for end of campaign scoring. And essentially, that's kind of it for Tome Saga. I did mention about a minor victory. You've got this up here. You've got a major and a minor victory. This is all to do with what you can take at the end of a game in order to boost your tomes for end of campaign scoring. Major victory changes depending on whether you beat your opponent by 10 points in Architects, 12 points in Paladins, 14 points in Viscounts. If you've won by more than 10 points of the player that came second, you get a major victory, in which what this is telling you is you simply take all 3 of these face down remaining tomes, put them in front of you for end of campaign scoring. So that gives you a big boost to help you win the campaign. Second player, whoever comes in second will get to take any one crest of their choice. For a minor victory, whoever came in first, so this is less than 10, whoever came first, if it was less than 10 points difference between first and second place, will get 2 of the face down cards. Second player will get the remaining face down card, and third player will get a crest of their choice. Over the course of the 3 games, all 3 of those crests will be taken. There will be a multitude of tomes that will have been taken, and whoever has the most at the end of the campaign is the winner. Oh yeah, there you go, here's the major victory lead. There you go, 10, 12, 14. During the setup on Paladins and Viscounts, there is a difference between the amount of tomes between you and whoever has the most. This allows some kind of catch-up mechanism. So say the person in first place at the start of Paladins with the most tomes has 4 tomes, and you at second place had 2 tomes. That means you would be allowed to get an additional 2 silver, because 4 minus 2 is 2, to help you with the next game. And that is Tome Saga. This is Architects, and hopefully this has helped, and I will do the next videos shortly.